Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem.
Shall we start?
Let's do it. All right. So welcome everyone to the Week in Italian Startup, where me and Nicolò, we go through the different news happening in Italy in startup land. So let's get going with NFT, blockchain, crypto gaming, and a very nostalgic, I felt a little bit nostalgic about Pokemon when I saw the Kryptomon deal, which, by the way, one of the biggest of last week. So very, very good, raising about 10 million US dollars from NFX. And I would love to talk about NFX because it's a huge investor on different verticals. But essentially, that was an interesting deal. So blockchain gaming startup from an Italian founder, Umberto Canessa, based in the Netherlands. What they're trying to do is basically reinvent gaming, and especially sort of Pokemon style gaming through NFT and blockchain. So that's a nice new take of what NFT can be and become. What is your thinking, Nick?
Well, you said it all actually, and I have to say that that's a take that many players are trying to follow in some way. I have to say that what I like of Kryptomon, other than that, they have an Italian founder, and I know Umberto. I met him many years ago actually, and I'm very happy for the project that is developing. What I like about Kryptomon is that usually you hear a lot of blockchain gaming startups talking about play to earn. But as a matter of fact, Kryptomon says play and earn. So
yeah, I noticed that.
They tell you that you will have fun, and if you're good, you will also earn. Not just you play because you want to earn, and that's it. It's a subtle but important difference, I believe, in how they think about gameplay as being part of the game, not just do something in order to earn. That's work, that's not play.
Yes.
So I'm very happy, and I like this particular take.
It's a less pressure. It's less pressure, and it definitely sounds like very much fun. So what is interesting also is that I think there has been in the NFT space a lot of people kind of reviving and revamping different methodologies or games from the 90s and 80s. I was looking into another startup essentially selling packets full of a soccer player in NFT, and that's a model. When we were young, Nick, we had the figurine Panini. That's basically, it's coming back, impressively enough. And here we have Pokemon again coming back in a different shape and form. It's respawning different successes of an old generation. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, all of those games were about collectibles, but they didn't work well in digital because what is the unicity of that item that you are buying or acquiring in some way? So here, in a way, they use NFT in order to make it clear that there is a specific item over there. So the concept of collectible is much deeper, much more round when applied to blockchain projects. And there you are. That you can start marketplaces. You can engage in new business models that made no sense before, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a good portion of that revamping of the big games of the 90s is mostly because of the underlying technology that allows that game to actually take the reality of the 90s and bring it into a digital game, something that you couldn't do before.
Super interesting. And big investor, NFX, basically one of the big guys in the space. So basically is leading, NFX is leading the round. A lot of other different, very interesting investors, some C-level of Citigroup, and really a solid rooster of investor, I would say. And yeah, I was checking out the portfolio of NFX. First of all, great research part where actually they're essentially, they have a very interesting investment thesis. So they work in the network effect based businesses in some way, and they're trying to combine businesses so they can benefit each other, and at least that's what they claim. And the companies are just a bunch of companies, and some of the huge names, different verticals too. So literally from marketplace space to Latin America, Web3, you know, we have Lyft, we have like Trulia, we have like some very, very well-known name, and the list goes on and on. So that's pretty wild to me.
What I like is that if you go up again at the top, the sectors, basically look at the sectors. It's not about digital biotech, it's bio, and in digital, Web3, gaming, top tech, geography, Latin America, that's interesting, space tech, fintech, and marketplaces. So basically, in the digital space, the verticals that tend to have the biggest total addressable markets. So they're going after the big opportunities when you look at those type of verticals. Or this is the way I see it, and that's extremely interesting. Yeah. Another thing I like about NFX, I don't know whether you have tried it, is Signal.
Okay. Yes. I haven't tried it.
They basically have a LinkedIn for investors and founders.
Yes.
They manage it. They own it. You sign up for Signal, and you can check your connections to investors and entrepreneurs.
Super functional. Yeah, these guys are definitely like getting into investing with this network mindset all across the border. So that's pretty cool for sure. And of course, the team is like extremely with a lot of great expertise, it seems, and for sure it's something that they also wanna push, which is essentially the collaboration between maybe former entrepreneur with new entrepreneurs, and how exactly they can connect with each other. I like also the idea of this, of like entirely transparent. So whenever they invest, all the founders which receive investment have access to essentially the team in some form or another. And the idea is really to build this connection and leverage all the network in the most powerful way. So I don't know practically what they do, but I love the inspiration and the mission here. So
I will ask Umberto.
Yes, it'll be interesting to see. Awesome. All right, so moving on to one of the big round of this week is BuddyFit, raising 10 million euro with lead investor Azimut Digitech, consulted by Gellify. And again, here we see a big player, Azimut Digitech, which has been placing bets all across the different spaces. BuddyFit, very successful, I would say, platform for health in general, not only fitness, but also like mind and body. So they have workouts programs, they also have like mindfulness products and so on and so forth. And yeah, definitely backed by important influencer in the space, at least known in Italy and some international, of course. And yeah, awesome, definitely an awesome play, which has been working out in this like new way of doing fitness. So that's the idea. Yeah, Azimut Digitech leading the round with some substantial investor from RCS Media Group, a big media group in Italy. So that's also like pretty relevant, I would say. And yeah, these guys are going. They want to hire people. They want to move on, and it's a big push for sure.
I wonder if these investors, Cairo, RCS Media Group, they're basically actually television and media related. So I wonder if we're going to see some expansion of what BuddyFit does towards older media, or some kind of commingling of these two universes coming together.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Makes sense. It makes sense. I mean, growth here, for especially this kind of consumer app, is really exposure to the public. The more exposure, the more you can actually like leverage the platform. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I love the idea that the way that they started with the testimonials, Ibrahimovic and Dieta Leotta, very strong ones, and I believe also investors at the beginning in the company, so the great execution there, and I believe they received a lot of benefit from choosing these specific VIPs to push the platform.
What do you think of the involvement of VIPs into the tech world? Because in the US you always have the actor that like raise the funds. Famously Ashton Kutcher has its own VC firm, Sound Ventures. There is a bunch of other people trying to. I've heard that also Linkin Park has their own VC vehicles. The Chainsmokers have their own VC vehicles. So there is a big move where celebs are trying to actually enter the VC space, and many times I found that they're really they really work with well-known operators, so they're pretty successful also. I don't know what's your feel in Italy, if it's not the case.
Well, we do have startups investing in startups, mostly soccer players that I know of. Some players from Juventus, for example, I know invested in several startups, so they build their own portfolio. Chiellini, for example, but remember that Chiellini is also a degree in business management, I believe.
Oh wow!
So
interesting.
He has also probably the fundamentals to choose and select and search for startups. But having said that, if you have some capital to invest and you have access to the investment, it makes sense to diversify into, for example, startups. So I totally see the single celeb investing. I totally see when they support the investment by talking about it. But that's a gray area where there are a lot of low awareness of what they're pushing. For example, there were a lot of scams in blockchain, but celebs pushed the startup, and it turned out it was a scam.
Yeah,
and that advertising risks coming back big time with the SEC. Knocking and saying, "Hey, you were publishing a scam, and that's not nice. You don't want to be in that position."
Sure.
But in this case, for example, Ibrahimovic and Leotta, I can see a structured involvement of both of them with the communication and the branding of the company. So totally different level than just pushing on Twitter and saying, "Hey, I invested in this piece,
exactly.
It's cool, and bye." That's just
Is it a positive signal or a negative signal or a neutral signal from a co-investor like you guys in Primo Ventures? Like if you see a celeb on the cap table, is it necessarily positive or it's kind of not really relevant? What's the perception?
I don't know. I would say it's around irrelevant because it's like a business angel. In a certain sense, no. So it's a person with some capital that's investing in startups. Sometimes it can be more valuable, of course, because then you have Ibrahimovic putting, his face on the brand. So that's useful, but it's not because it's on a cap table. It's because you have some media push by a famous person. So I don't have a straight answer. It depends. I would say it's probably the best one. That's not good for sure. That's not bad for sure. It depends. It can be just a passive business angel as many others, or someone very helpful because it supports the brand. But the example that you were making before, Ashton Kutcher, the Linkin Park, and so forth, that's more advanced. They set up investment vehicles.
They have a proper structure. From what I know one of the managers in Sound Ventures from Ashton Kutcher. So basically, Ashton has a team of 8 people. Imagine. He has a management company, he has a limited partnership company, and he co-invests essentially, but it's a full-fledged venture capital firm organized around his capital and his friend's capital, and there you go, that's where they go. I don't know how much is involved directly, of course, probably up to a certain level, but that's definitely powerful. Especially in the last year, Ashton Kutcher has been pretty active actually in the startup world. pretty vocal about it, and that's great, bringing awareness. And I love the fact that he went full in and with a full structure, like really, really well-made structures.
I have to say that in this case, I believe he started early. So it's not just last year. So he started angel investing quite a few years ago.
Totally.
So he was one of the first movers in the space. And I believe he was quite active choosing and looking for investments. I don't know about it now, of course, so he has a team, so he has probably also a big portfolio to manage. Sure. And you need people to manage the portfolio, not just the investment. But I believe he's a bit of an outlier. He went, I wouldn't say all in, but quite in.
Quite in, yeah.
On startup investments.
We are waiting for the Italian equivalent. Who's gonna be the celeb, like being sophisticated to actually like build up something like that? That's an interesting. I would love to see.
Very good question. I don't know.
I would love to see that. All right, moving on. After the dark kitchen, let's talk about the dark grocery store trend, which is very interesting. So another raise, and one of the biggest of last week, was Tulips, e-grocery market based on dark stores, raising €3 million from a crowdfunding campaign. So essentially, for the people that don't know, eTulip basically gathers a lot of stores, and which basically allow them to be on the platform so they can actually deliver to the public. So it's a play where it's kind of a market. Yeah, it's a marketplace play where you connect like some grocery warehouse more than stores, I would say. Like it's more of a warehouse, right?
It's a dark stores business. So basically, I believe that they set up their own stores.
So it's fully dark store.
Fully dark stores. So no window on the street, but just the warehouse and all the operations and the logistics in order to deliver the groceries, basically, as you can see from the fourth quadrant. Yep. Same prices from the supermarket, but you can see that there is a warehouse actually where all the stuff is stacked. So really they run their own.
Yeah.
And the interesting bit is that I usually don't cover crowdfunding. There are a lot of deals in crowdfunding coming up every week, but in this case the deal is big because they raised 3.3 million so far in just a few weeks. I believe in the first week, that was back in May, they raised the first 3 million. And that's extremely interesting. And second, e-groceries, same day delivery, gorillas, getting out of the market. So it's exactly the opposite. The opposite of what's happening with bigger and better funded than big names.
Super contrarian.
But still, super contrarian. And the crowd is contrarian in this case. So it seems.
Good point. Good point. It's interesting that they've used like an equity crowdfunding platform. Honestly, it's a huge round. I mean, that's will be interesting to see like the logic behind, but definitely successful. So awesome job for sure.
I believe that they have a company backing them. So an investor who already invested in the company like in 2021, I believe, in 2020 or 2021. It's an SPA, and they're probably doubling down on this investment. But I believe the crowdfunding play is, you are users, you are customers, you have some public visibility, you have probably the capacity to market your stuff in the market. So it seems it is working from the numbers.
Awesome.
It was interesting. Big size in crowdfunding in that space right now.
Exactly. Good point. Cool. All right, talking about HR, Glickon, that's an interesting company. Essentially, they're trying to simplify the work of HR in general, both for hiring and for building corporate engagement among the employees. So they basically developed a whole backend where people can easily get new hires, but at the same time, when someone is hired, and there is a full process that the HR department can build to keep employee engaged, make them play games, make them engage with activities, and so on and so forth. So that's a very unique way to look at HR, and that's probably the future of keeping corporation engagement, given remote work, given new way of, basically feeling the company, because all of this is accessible through phone. You can do survey with your employees, so it's a great way to keep people involved beside the old email. Email is dying, so this is a new way to get a new pop-up on your phone, and exactly.
I'm smiling because when I hear about employee engagement, employee retention, these are sort of platforms that tend to try to improve retention, improve engagement, improve morale of the employees, and it's all good and great. Always smile because I think of a Twitter of a tweet that I read a few weeks back. It was like, company HR. What do people want to stay here and work with us? Is it gaming? Is it free food? What is it? People, highest salaries. It cannot be that. It will be something else.
Can't be that.
Higher salaries.
No. Just too simple.
It can't be that.
Let's find stuff. Let's find other stuff that can give like extra value or perceived value. That's interesting.
It's not related to Glickon, but it's always something that comes to mind when I hear about employee engagement and employee retention.
Interesting. Super interesting. Awesome. And the lead investor is Sinergia Capital. Basically, it's a company that works between Milan and New York, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a good.
It's a VC fund. Sinergia.
So they have they work both in private equity and venture capital. The team is pretty diverse, I would say, pretty global, I would say. Yeah.
Basically, it was an investment management company that started out in private equity, and I believe they at least a couple of funds under management.
Yeah.
And then they launched last year this new 2021 this new venture capital fund with a specific management, and they only do in particular B2B in the early stage, Series A, Series B range, 2 to 7 million as initial investment. So Glickon is precisely in this space. Yeah. With a target they see at 100 millions, but I believe they raised between 50 and 60 so far.
Okay, interesting.
Well funded.
For sure.
Fund, so.
Yeah.
But this is probably the second or third investment.
Yeah, I see.
I remember at least another one, but maybe there are more.
Yeah, because I was checking, and they have like 3 private equity funds, like of course way bigger with different investment thesis. And this is their first VC play, so that's super interesting that they're going earlier in this funding stage of companies. So that was particularly cool. Excellent. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about Upway. Very interesting, very interesting deal. So Upway is let me find it again. Yeah, so Upway essentially is a company that refurbishes electric bike startup. What is interesting is that was really one of the biggest round of the week, if you take into consideration investors, because the lead of the $25 million was between Exor and Sequoia Capital. So we talked about Exor before. They're like a big player. They're very fast. They want to deploy extremely fast on a pace which have never been seen before, and they're also making like bigger deals, and that's one big example. So definitely interesting for that.
Yep. Yeah, even though I have to say they promised they would be investing in a couple of startups per week. You remember a few weeks ago when they announced their strategy? But I haven't seen many announcements about rounds being churned out of the factory. So I don't know whether they're going below the radar or something isn't working well. I don't know.
They found better opportunity later stage. They're like, nope, it's a better stage.
25 million with Sequoia.
Exactly. You know what? I'm gonna save some capital and invest with these guys, and they're called Sequoia. I think I've heard of them. You know, they're kind of good. They seem good. So interesting, very interesting though. All right, just a quick shout out to our friend Massimiliano merging with Uniware. That's really cool. Massimiliano is CEO and founder of Develop. Basically, he teaches coding to Italians in a novel way, and he's been merging with this company that is helping students to track their academic records. And I think that can really provide an improvement in the service. So that's pretty awesome. And yeah, what can we say? I think you raised a good point, because there was a lot of reading. You reporting your newsletter, which is awesome always. But I think the one that comes out pretty interestingly is the fact that a lot of Italian-related startup, half of the capital raised of Italian-related startup is based away from Italy. So essentially, it's, I believe, 5 billion total raised between 2016 and 2021, and half of it, is to Italian founder, but not Italian founder in Italy. So that's that raises like interesting issues, like Italy is good, but there are also good places. So Italian are still like looking out. It's interesting, I would say.
Yeah. So the research is by P101 with BBs. That's an online editorial related to capital investments and so on and so forth. This is interesting because, half of the capital raised by Italian founders is not in Italian companies. And you think that, I don't know the ratio between people in Italy and Italians abroad. I don't know that ratio, but I don't think it's 50-50.
Absolutely.
So there's some sort of positive selection of Italian entrepreneurs going abroad.
Yeah.
And probably it's again a reflection of how there are many opportunities in the world, and there are many Italians that are able to get them. And some of the companies are quite famous and quite cool, I would say. Is the Kong. So they're also market defining. Kong is market defining for sure. True layer. So the great companies doing great things.
No,
I'm proud of them. I'm a bit sad because they're doing that abroad. There are reasons because of that.
Yeah, I mean, what I was thinking is whether the ratio kind of changed between 2016 and 21. So overall, I can see that half is just a rough number, but is that increasing toward the Italian side, or it's kind of staying steady across the years? Because my intuition is that as Italy moves probably forward with new capital being infused into the economy, better laws and legal structure for new companies, etc., the balance should kind of like shift. Did it happen? We don't know. We'll research that and see, and if we hope it's the case. Actually,
that's an excellent question. It should somehow change, but hopefully will change in favor of Italy. But
yeah. Oh yeah.
It's quite easy to rechange the balance. I mean, if you deploy 100 million in Italy in stage startup, you invest in 25 startups, and that's great. But then you have one startup abroad raising 100 million, there you are back.
There you go, back. Yeah, true. True.
Just one Series C is more than enough to cover for 3 Italian funds invested in Italy. So
interesting.
It's a difficult balance.
Difficult. Nick, thank you so much for joining. This is the Week in Italian Startup. We're available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast every week. And I will see you next week.